Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Huddle Up with Gus. I'm your host, former NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte, and welcome to the new 1631 Digital News Studio. You know, some people say, no news is good news. Well, I say to those people, you've never read 1631digitalnews.com. Go to 1631digitalnews.com to get your latest news, sports, music, and entertainment. And maybe even listen to your favorite podcast, Huddle Up with Gus. Check it out today at www.1631digitalnews.com.
Huddle Up with Gus is brought to you by Vegas Sports Advantage. Clients of Vegas Sports Advantage are winning big in 2021, and you can be a part of the winning too. As of June 1st, $100 bettors are up $3,700. $500 bettors are up $18,500, and $1,000 bettors are up $37,000, and $5,000 bettors are up $185,000. Become a client today by clicking the link in the description below, and use promo code HUDDLEUP to take 25% off your package today, thanks to our partnership.
Welcome to what surely will be a doozy of a matchup right here, sports fans. Whether your game is on the gridiron, at the diamond, or on the links, we can only say, welcome to this week's Huddle Up with Gus. 15-year NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte, passion for sports, has taken him on the field and behind the benches, playing for 7 NFL franchises with 114 TDs under his belt. Gus knows who the players are and how the games are won.
It's not every day you get to hang out with an NFL quarterback, huh?
Okay, sports fans, from the decked out and plush 1631 digital studios, it's kickoff time. So snap your chin straps on and get ready to huddle up with Gus.
Strange variety, but again, a big play to Leslie.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Huddle Up with Gus. I'm your host, Gus Frerotte, 15-year NFL quarterback, and I want to welcome you to the Huddle Up with Gus podcast. I want to thank all of our friends, Sounder FM. I want to thank 1631 Digital News. Go check them out. We're on their platform as well. And also want to thank Vegas Sports Advantage. If you want to know who to bet for, go to Vegas Sports Advantage. They'll help you make some cash. Don't ask me. I don't know. I'm terrible at it. My kids never ask me, so I'm not the one to ask. But go to Vegas Sports Advantage. Use my code HUDDLEUP, and you could save a little bit of cash and hopefully win some. So today's guest I'm really excited for. She's been in the NFL circles for a long, long time. Still talking about it today. She was an executive with the Raiders for I think it was since 1983. Is that correct? And also now you are the chairman of the board for the Big 3, the 3-on-3 basketball, which is awesome and a lot of fun to watch. So joining me today on Huddle Up with Gus is Amy Trask. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Gus. Thank you for saying hi. Thank you for inviting me to join you. And before we get started, let me apologize to you and to anyone listening for the background noise. I'm hiding in a closet to give you as much quiet as possible, but the Department of Water and Power picked a lovely time to start jackhammering the street. So I apologize, and thanks for having me.
Well, that's what they usually do. They come when you don't want them to come.
Right.
When it's most inconvenient, they show up. So I totally get it. So I appreciate you joining me, even if it is from your closet. So how let's go back. I know you're from California, and tell me a little bit about growing up and kind of your what it was like for you with sports. What was your first memory or how you fell in love with sports?
Well, look, kind of two types of sports: participatory sports, things I did with my family, and then spectator sports. And you were right on the number of years you referenced. I was with the Raiders for almost 30 years. I fell in love with the game of football when I was in junior high. I loved everything about the game. And as you well know, I certainly don't need to share this with you, obviously. It's a very cerebral game. Yes, it's fast and it's powerful and it's exciting, but it's also very cerebral. It's a game of matchups. How does your linebacker match up against my running back? How do your corners match up against our receivers? How does your pass rush or your pass protection match up against my pass protection or my pass rush? It's a game of chess And yes, there are very fast, very strong, very powerful chess pieces, but I fell in love with the game when I was in junior high. I grew up in Los Angeles. I ultimately went to the Bay Area and was in school at Cal Berkeley. Little shout out for my Golden Bears. And the Raiders at the time were just down the road, really and truly just down the road. And I fell in love with everything about the Raiders. This was a team that, the owner of which gave people second chances and third chances and more chances than many people thought he should have. And, you would watch football on television and you'd see the visiting team getting off the team buses and they were wearing suits and carrying cases. And then you'd see the Raiders just rolling off the bus looking like that, the cat just dragged him in. So having been labeled a behavior problem in kindergarten, all of that resonated with me. And I fell in love with the Raiders, having already loved football. And when I returned to Los Angeles to go to grad school, I contacted the team about doing an internship. And that's how my career with the team started.
So wait, why were you labeled that when you were in kindergarten?
Well, I think it would depend on whether you asked the kindergarten teacher or whether you asked me. I questioned authority as early as kindergarten, and I suppose one is not supposed to do that when one is a kindergartner. There's a great story in the family how at one point my mom picked me up and said, "What'd you do in school today, Amy?" And I said, "Nothing." And she said, "No, I know you didn't do nothing. What'd you do?" "Nothing." And she said, "Look, you can tell me you're tired, you're hungry, you don't want to talk about it now, but you can't tell me nothing. What'd
Right.
you do in kindergarten?" And I said, "Nothing." And she pulled the car over and said, "All right, I dropped you off. Then what happened? I went into class. Then what happened? I got sent to stand in the corner. Then what happened? I had to stand in the corner the whole day." And she said, "Does this happen often?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, every day." So she pulled a U-turn and went back to talk to the kindergarten teacher. So you're going to have to talk to the kindergarten teacher, although I'm not sure she's around anymore.
Right. Right. So, I think we've all been there. I mean, I went to Catholic school forever, and I had some nuns that weren't my favorite. They had some yardsticks that I really didn't like. They used to use those, at will. If you went outside the lines, even when you were learning how to write. But what about sports? Did you play any sports growing up?
We did things as a family, and we were active and we were outside, but I did not play any organized sports. I wasn't skilled enough in the view of many, including my view, to do any organized team sport. I mean, look, sure. I mean, we played on the playground and we did things like that, but I was not part of a team.
But a lot of that you learn, like a lot of kids learn about just how to play when they're on the playground. I mean, most of my guests that I talk to, they learn a lot from going out into the playground with no coaches, no parents, nobody are out there. And you learn how to pick teams. You learn how to, all of a sudden, that's how you build trust. It's just how you learn to kind of play the games and be a part of a team. I certainly was like that. I don't know if you were like that on the playground as well.
Well, you do. You learn a lot. You learn a lot about how you interact with others. You learn to be part of a team. You learn what's acceptable when you're playing with others. And I should have mentioned, because many do consider this a sport, I was a competitive equestrian for many, many, many years. And my teammate, other than my husband, my favorite teammate of all time was my horse.
Well, no, that's great because it's not easy riding a horse. I mean, you have to have stamina. It takes a lot of skill to do that. So I think that's definitely a sport. I mean, that's really hard. Every time I try to ride a horse, I feel like this big oaf on them. I feel like I'm too big. They got to give me one of those big, horses that plow the field. So I feel normal on it.
There you go. You could get a Clydesdale. And by the
Right.
way, with the Olympics going on right now, I am firmly in the camp with people who think that when there's an equestrian event, not only should the winning rider get an award, so too should the horse, because the horse and the rider are teammates.
Oh yeah, I think if that's the only way the jockey, like if you watch the Kentucky Derby, anything like that, all the races, they have to be in sync. If you've ever watched rodeos and barrel, and when they do the barrel racing, it's incredible to see how in sync they have to be.
They're magnificent animals.
Yeah, my daughter is a a vet. She just graduated from Penn Vet School. And she at the University of Pennsylvania, she had to go to the new Bolton facility, and she loved working with horses. And but she didn't want to do it. She's like, Dad, if I become a vet and I work with horses, one kick can kill me. And she said, I'd rather not deal with that. And I said, well, I get that, but they love you. And she goes, yeah, I know, I love them too, but it's tough.
I think it's magnificent that she's a vet, but I refuse to accept the fact that you are old enough to have a daughter who's a vet. So let's just move on, because
what do you mean? I just turned 50 last week.
No. I'm not. Because if you just turned 50, I don't even want. Let's not do the math on that. But I do think it's tremendous that she's a vet.
Oh, she's awesome. She calls every day. She's doing night shifts at an emergency animal hospital in DC at Friendship, and her stories are just insane sometimes. So I'm really proud of her, and she's doing a great job. But I know you're a big animal lover too, and you work with Tony Larussa and his. Now, what is his organization called that you work with?
I am, I'm an emeritus on his board of directors. I served on Tony's board it's called Tony Larussa's Animal Rescue Foundation. Now, wait for it. Get it? Animal Rescue Foundation. That stands for ARF.
Right. I love it.
And I had the pleasure of serving on his board of directors for many years. I'm now emeritus on the board, but I'm still a huge supporter and stay involved with his events. And in addition to having saved the lives and found forever family for over 45,000 cats and dogs,
wow.
A new program was recently launched, Pets and Vets. And it pairs up returning veterans who are suffering from PTSD and other issues. And the pairing with these, for the most part, dogs, but I'll tell you something about that in a minute. The pairing is magnificent. And you hear the stories from these veterans who, as I said, have returned. They have PTSD. They don't want to, or they can't do so many things they do want to. I misspoke because, by the way, while I'm talking, all the animals here are barging into the closet where I'm sitting, so I got distracted for a minute. But these animals pair with the veterans and help them in every regard. And we had one veteran who said to ARF, I know that everybody wants to be paired with a dog. Is it okay if I pair with a cat? And Tony's people said, of course it's okay. But I just thought it was just great that this one returning veteran, and we owe so much to these returning veterans, that the help that Tony's giving them with, for the most part, dogs, but in one instance, a cat, is really magnificent.
No, I think it's great. Because I have 2 rescues right now, and then we have a pit bull who's about 9 months old, and they don't care what you went through. They're just happy to see you. And I feel like that's probably so good for the veterans, where people can stigmatize them. And, if they have PTSD, it's hard to talk about. I have a lot of people in my family who were in a lot of the wars and in the armed forces for a long time. And sometimes when you come home and you've had a rough day, the cats or dogs just they let you melt kind of away, and it just helps you feel better.
They want 2 things. They want to love you, and they want to be loved. And the work that these dogs and cats do with returning veterans is magnificent. There's actually another terrific charity, a charitable foundation down here in Los Angeles, actually a little south of Los Angeles, and I think it's in the Carlsbad area, called Pegasus Rising. And they team horses with returning veterans. And I went to an event for them, and to listen to this veteran who had just returned and was sharing with the group that he couldn't even leave his home without terrible, terrible anxiety and fear until he was paired with this horse. And, I'm convinced that animals in so many regards are so much better than so many people, and they certainly bring out the best in people.
God, you sound just like my wife. Right. We lost 3 dogs last year, and we have another 3 this year. So that's all. We've always had animals in our life. That's
wonderful.
We used to have cats, and then we find out our daughter, who becomes a vet, is allergic to them. So she's taken shots her whole life just to be able to get through that. But I think they are, and I think you're exactly right. They want to love you, and they just want to be loved. And when one dog doesn't get enough attention, boy, do they let you know.
Well, I am now, as I said, sitting in a closet speaking with you to minimize the noise, and they're all running around here like little crazy people.
And what kind of animals do you have?
All rescues, which are the best kind of animals, and a multiplicity of dogs, cats, all of those things.
Wow. Yeah. So we actually just rescued a Dog Day Bordeaux from a group in Philly called Mastiffs to Mutts Rescue. And,
wonderful.
Yeah. So Solly is great. We've had him a little over 3 months, and all he wants to do is go out every morning and play fetch.
Well, I hope you do that with him.
I will. But, I'm glad we got to talk about that because, some people see us as just what they see in the news or on TV. And there's so much more when I study and look at your history and what you've done. You've accomplished so much. And it's due to really, I love what you said. It's just hard work. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, or whatever it is. It's just hard work. And that's what I was always taught by my dad.
I learned that from my parents as well, that, hard work matters. It really, really matters. And, any number of times people would come into my office and say, ultimately, I want a career like yours. I'm working towards a career like yours. How do I do that? How do I land where you are? And I would say, do you notice when you get here in the morning that my car is already here? And then I'd wait a beat or two and I'd say, and do you notice when you leave at night that my car is still here? Now, no, that's not all that matters, but it really does matter that one works hard. And I always say to people, when you think you can't work any harder, find a way to work harder.
Yeah. So where do you get that ethic from? What did your parents do that you learned how to be resilient like that?
You're right. It's from my parents, and they absolutely instilled in us the importance of hard work. They both worked very, very hard. They grew up, my mom was sort of nothing, and my dad was just a smidge more than nothing, and everything they had was self-made. And my mom's sort of a very interesting story. She graduated college with a degree in chemistry at a time when women didn't do that for the most part.
Right.
She was the only woman in her class graduating with a degree in chemistry, and nobody was giving her a job offer. So finally, the last pharmaceutical company with which she interviewed said, thank you very much. We don't have anything available. And she looked at them and she said, why is no one offering me a job? Everyone's offered my stupid lab partner a job, and without me, he's not even passing chemistry. Why am I not getting a job offer? And they looked at her like, how can you not understand this? And the guy said to her, you're a stunning young woman. You've got an enormous diamond on your left hand. You're getting married. Nobody's going to offer you a job because all you're going to do is have kids and leave, and we don't want to spend the time and effort training you. And she looked at him and said, oh, okay. She went on and got a master's degree, and then she got a doctorate, and she devoted her career to teaching science and also to teaching teachers how to teach science to girls and to kids and to minorities, kids that normally weren't given the opportunity to learn science the way she thought they should learn science. So the reason I share all of that with you is she had a special respect and admiration and appreciation for Al Davis because he did for me what no one did for her at the beginning of her career, which is hire without regard to gender.
Right, which is great. And when I was reading about it, it seems like they brought you in because you said, hey, look, I'm going to work for free. It's an internship. And they were like, oh, sure, come on in then.
Yeah, and I'm very quick to note, Gus, that I do realize the tremendous fortune I had that I was able to do an internship for no pay. And I am extremely cognizant that not everyone has the luxury of doing that. Now, the good news is nowadays, those internships pay. A million years ago, when I did my internship, they didn't pay. And I do recognize how lucky I was, how fortunate I was that I could do one for no pay. But I was in grad school. I heard all these other kids talking about these things called internships and externships. So I called the Raiders. The team had relocated to Los Angeles the same year I graduated from college. The team had tried a few years earlier, but been ordered back by the court. Finally came down the year I came down for grad school. So I picked up the phone and I said, I'd like to do an internship. And they patched me through to someone who said, well, what is that? And I said, well, I'll work for you and you won't pay me. And they said, come on down. And that's how I started my career. But again, I recognize how fortunate I was to be able to do that. But the good news is that today those internships pay.
So when you went and did your internship, were you in all the different areas, or did you want to stay in one area? Like, because my son's in sport management. He just graduated from Delaware. He's interning at the Hall of Fame right now. And he does, he's in marketing. Yeah, he's into marketing. He's in ticket sales. Like, there's so many different things that are part of an organization like the Raiders. What did you do as an intern?
Well, I think he's doing absolutely the right thing, which is do as much as you can in every area that you can and learn as much as you can. I joined the organization as an intern in the legal department. But you know what? I went into the ticket office on the day or so before a home game, and I helped alphabetize the will call envelopes. And I went into the scouting department and I helped them organize all the scouting material. I went to every department and said, how can I help? And that's another thing I tell people. Yes, it's important that you fulfill your primary responsibility. But if you're part of a team, roll up your sleeves and help your teammates. Don't sit there and talk about being a good teammate if you're not rolling up your sleeves and helping everyone you can in every department you can. Let me tell you something that I'm not telling you. I was going to be funny and say, let me tell you something as you full well know. If the left tackle can't get his job done, if he needs some help blocking his man, the left guard is going to slide over and say, let me help you. And, it always interested me that people in the front office of an organization who wanted to talk so much about the importance of teamwork on the field, of the left guard sliding over to help the left tackle if the left guard could handle both responsibilities, of the safety helping the corner who was having trouble defending his man. Well, you know what? If that's what you expect of teammates on the field, why should it be any different in the front office? So, if I could go into the ticket office and help them alphabetize ticket envelopes, A, I was helping, I was being a good teammate, and B, I was learning about tickets. So I think your son is doing the right thing, and he should help in every department he can.
Awesome. So do you think that because you were there, like you started as an intern and then they brought you back, they hired you, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 years later, but then like you were there for, like you said, almost 30 years. How much of a benefit was that? Because you got to know, I'm sure you knew everybody in that organization, because I think that's so special when you can walk down the halls and say, hi to so-and-so and just saying, instead of just saying hi, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. And I think it has, as is said, there's two sides to every coin. It was marvelous. It's just magnificent to be there as long as I was. I will forever cherish the memories. But the flip side of that is I grew up on the job. So, I started as an intern when I was in the early part of my 20s, and I joined full time in sort of the mid part of my 20s. I not only grew up within the job, I grew up on the job, not only in a job sense, but in a growing up sense. So, I would just say this, all of my mistakes that I made, and I made a lot of mistakes, they were with me those whole 30 years, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. But growing up on a job is a challenge, because you're living with those mistakes you made from day one. And now the one person who it might surprise many people to know was the most understanding of making mistakes and my growing up on the job was Al.
Right. Yeah, that's what I figured, is that he kind of, I think that with Mr. Davis was just about he let you kind of expand and grow, and he trusted you. That's what it sounded like. He really trusted you. You were the one up during the night and learning and doing all these things, and let him sleep through the night. That's kind of what it feels like.
Well, you're absolutely right. He did trust me. And the biggest misconception about him is that you couldn't disagree with him. If that was true, I'd have been fired 2.5 weeks into my job, because he walked into a room, I was sitting with someone, he lit into that guy like I can only imagine a velociraptor would rip into flesh. And after a period of time, I realized he was wrong. So I said, "Excuse me, you're wrong." And I don't have a dainty voice at all, ever.
Right.
And I will never forget the look on his face when he turned around and looked at me like, "What?" And I said, "You're wrong." And he raised his voice and I raised my voice. And I said, "Look, if the facts on which you were basing your conclusion were accurate, it would be a fair conclusion. But you're basing your conclusion on inaccurate data." And we had a huge argument. And ultimately, after going back and forth for quite a period of time, loudly, to the point that everyone in the organization gathered outside the office to listen to us. And one woman got boxes because she figured I'd have to pack.
Right.
He looked at me and said, "Okay, I gotcha. And we went on. And I will tell you, Gus, we disagreed more than we agreed over the 30 years I was with him, or almost 30 years. And that was fine with him.
Which is awesome. That is the way to go. And what an organization that, he built, and then you got to sit right along and help him build it. I mean, I know that you were more on the executive side, the NFL side, dealing with all the day-to-day stuff more than the player side. But I play with so many guys that came from the Raiders. One of my really good friends when I was with the Redskins passed, Danny Turk. I don't know if you remember Danny.
Oh, of course. I will say I never called him Danny, but of course I remember. That was just for you, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We had so much fun in it. It was really sad when he passed, but like, oh man, just what an organization and what a place. And you've seen it grow now to where it's in Vegas. And how'd you feel about it moving and leaving and going to Vegas?
Mixed emotion, and these are not mutually inconsistent. It's a magnificent stadium, and for those fans that were excited by the move and are going to follow the team to Vegas, whether they live in the Bay Area or elsewhere, and they'll go to Vegas for the games, I'm delighted for them. Right. And for the fans who are heartbroken, I'm heartbroken for them.
Huddle Up with Gus listeners, Manscaped, they sent me, they hooked me up with a bunch of tools and formulations for their package 3.0 kit. So, I want to show you guys what's in the perfect package, right? We all think we got a perfect package, but they sent me the perfect package 3.0 kit. I want to show you what they sent me. So it was crazy. It came in this great box, and you can see what it says. They will thank you, because they send us this awesome trimmer. They sent us, stuff that makes you smell better. And then, they sent me this great, some boxers even, which you get, right? Protect them. And then, they sent me this cool sack, I guess you want to call it, to store all your stuff in. So it's been great. Manscaped sent me a bunch of product. You can see it all on here. You can go to manscaped.com and put in the code Gus Frerotte. That's GUSFREROTTE. Get 20% off and free shipping when you use that code. But you can get a kit. You can get individual items like this way cool groomer that has a little LED light, ceramic. These things come apart. They're waterproof. You can do a lot with them. So, Manscaped is great. It's funny. I remember when I was playing with the Denver Broncos, and I'm not going to mention any names, but there was a gentleman who was playing on our team. And, if he ever hears the story, he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But he brought his own clippers in one time, and he used it to trim his beard up and his goatee and everything. And he had them there for about 2 or 3 weeks. And he goes in around the corner, he walks in, and there's another player that is actually manscaping with his beard trimmer. So, one of the things is you don't want to use the same trimmer down there that you use up here. So he kind of freaked out a little bit, and he said, "Hey, how long have you been using that tool there?" And he said, "Well, it showed up here about 3 weeks ago, and I've been using it ever since." So, there is a lesson learned that, don't leave things out. And probably if it would have just said Manscaped on it, we wouldn't have had that issue. But it's probably one of the funniest taking care of your balls stories I've ever heard or been around in the locker room in the NFL. So it's a great story. But, I always said there was no way to know. There was no name on it. And the guy was just using it. And another guy was using it. It was not good. But it's a heck of a funny story. So one of the best I've ever heard in my 15 years playing in the league. But, there's so many great things about Manscaped and what they're doing. Because, guys, you got to take care of yourself. Even though I got gray hair and getting older, but you still have to maintain some sort of grooming, right? And so, we all work out. For me, I like working in my yard, doing those things now that I'm retired, getting a little sweat on and everything. You want to smell good. You got to take care of yourself. They got some great products. This one, a little ball deodorant. We all need that here and there. After, working in the yard, taking a hike, doing a walk, whatever you do. It's a great thing, but there's so many great products. I want to thank Manscaped for sending them to me. The Lawnmower 3.0, obviously you can use it anywhere in your body, but I'm sure you guys have all seen the commercials. But this was one just letting you know that the Lawnmower 3.0 comes with the perfect kit. You can buy the lawnmower by itself. You can buy all these products individually. They even sent me this wonderful shirt. You can see the back. Your balls will thank you. And then here's the front. So it's an awesome shirt. They have great gear. And you know what? Sometimes you can just sit back, take care of your balls a little bit, and read the paper. So I think Manscaped even has their own daily news, which is great. So don't forget that you can go to the code Gus Frerotte, and that's GUSFREROTTE, and you can save 20% on any products. The perfect package gift set, and you can save 20% and get free shipping. So use the code Gus Frerotte, GUSFREROTTE. Hey, everybody spells my name wrong. They even spelled it wrong in the back of my Pro Bowl jersey. So, I gotta help you guys out. So don't forget how important it is that you use these products. Take care of yourself down below and have some fun, right? There's nothing closer to you than your little buddies. So use the lawnmower, use the code Gus Frerotte, save 20% and get free shipping, and order some great Manscaped products.
And it's not mutually inconsistent to say, I'm happy for the fans who are happy and I'm sad for the fans who are sad.
I mean, the visiting players have to be so upset, because there was nothing better than playing at the Raiders and then coming out before you got on the bus and grabbing an In-N-Out burger. That was like,
you remember that place.
Oh my gosh, was that the best? I remember Trey Johnson, we had a lineman, he was like 350. He grabbed 3 of them. I'm like, you're going to eat all 3? And they're gone. Like in no matter of time.
There's no lineman that couldn't eat 3 of them. But, you mentioned the visiting teams. One paradigm shift the organization is going to have to prepare for, as fans are now allowed in the building, because, of course, last year in the pandemic, they were not. In Oakland, as you know, that stadium was full with 97, 98% were Raiders fans. There will certainly be a lot of Raider fans in Vegas as well, of course. But the team and the players are going to have to get ready, meaning the organization and the players on the team are going to have to get ready for a lot more fans of the visiting team. Because if you are fans of a team that is playing on the Raiders on the road, and you can go to only one road game.
Yeah, where
you're going to Vegas, right? We all saw Vegas Vacation. You're going to Vegas.
Well, unless you play for the Dolphins, because when I played with the Dolphins, it was all Jets fans, New York. It was all, New England fans, because all the snowbirds came down.
Right.
Yeah, that's how it was. Well, I get you. So you're with the Raiders for a long time, and you just learned all these skills. You become an executive. And then when was that point where you said, okay, I'm I've kind of lived my time with the Raiders. I'm going to move on.
It was after Al passed away.
Yeah.
And deciding to leave was the hardest decision I've made in my life, which, by the way, is a clear, I recognize that that's a loud statement about how lucky I have been in life. But I made a commitment to Al about handling the transition of his estate and making sure there was a seamless transition, because there's a lot associated with that pursuant to league rules. And, after he passed away, got through that season, and then I started what I can only describe as my Hamlet, to be or not to be, only it was to stay or not to stay. Right. And I ultimately made the decision to leave, and it was scary, 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 but it was the right decision. And, you always wonder when you make a decision like that, am I going to regret it? And I don't regret it. It was the right decision for me.
Yeah, that transition is hard. You've been doing the same thing for so long. That was like me. I played football for 25 years straight, right? Through high school, college, 15 years in the pros. And then I was done. And then it's like, what do I do next? So what was that like when you finally said,
well,
okay,
I told my husband, I was very self-aware that I was not going to be able to think about what was next until I left. So I said to my husband, look, I can't even think about what I want to do next until I decide if I'm leaving or not. And he said, great, fine. And I woke up the morning after I gave notice and I said, I'm a blight on humanity. I have nothing to do. And, very, very shortly thereafter, CBS Sports contacted me, and I made a very, very difficult decision. I'm not on camera with you because I hate being on camera. That's why you are presumably using a sock puppet for me. But I decided to join CBS Sports. I'm thrilled that I did. And I am still with CBS Sports, and I love being part of the CBS Sports team. And a number of years later, Ice Cube and his business partner, Jeff Quantnitz, contacted me about joining them in their Big 3 endeavor. And I am the chairman of the board of the Big 3, and we are in the midst of a very, 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 tough rebound after the pandemic.
Yeah.
We had 3 seasons under our belt, and we just had the wind was at our back. And like so many businesses, we had to shut down for the pandemic, and now we are, working to come back from that.
Who's so working with Ice Cube and that group and the Big 3, was that his idea? Whose idea was that to develop that league?
Ice Cube and his longtime business partner, Jeff Quantnitz. It's their vision. It's their dream.
What a way, so you have this vision. I know he's Ice Cube. I mean, we all know him. We all, I mean, what a story. But to say hey, I'm just going to, he has to know somebody to call old NBA players up and say, hey, you want to come play in the Big 3 and, let's make this thing a league and have some fun. That had to be I wonder how that worked. It was pretty strange. And now how do you guys get the players to come and be a part of a Big 3 team?
It's not a question of us having to get them to come. They are eager to join us. They see how committed Cube and Jeff and Commissioner Clyde Drexler are to this league. And, the players we have Hall of Fame coaches, and we've got Dr. J and Charles Oakley and George Gervin and Rick Mahorn and Nancy Lieberman and Lisa Leslie. Attracting players is not an issue.
Not an issue. I love it. Does he just walk around with the name tag that says the Glide on it?
Well, I remember back to Phi Slamma Jamma.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, they were incredible.
Yeah, and it's as I said, it was Cube's vision, it was Jeff's vision, and it's really an honor to help work with them and see this vision come to life. And look, the league is doing a lot of terrific things. We're the only league where women are head coaches right alongside men. When Clyde was a head coach his first year, and then we made him into commissioner, so we needed to replace him. And I was sitting with Cube and Jeff and Clyde, and I said, how about Nancy Lieberman? And not one of them batted an eye. We hired Nancy. She came out, won the championship her first year, was voted coach of the year by all the players and the other coaches. The next year, Cube and Jeff decided to expand the league. We added Lisa Leslie as a head coach. She came out, won the championship her
That's
first
awesome.
year, was voted coach of the year her first year. And I don't remember, I think it was George Gervin. Someone said, whatever they're doing, we got to figure out how to do it as well as they are.
Right. I interviewed Nancy on the show. She was just unbelievable.
She's
was
amazing.
so much
She's
fun.
Terrific.
Yeah, she was so much. We had a blast just talking about her career and growing up in the Bronx and playing basketball and taking the train and like all these things. Was just amazing to hear her story.
It is I've listened to her talk. She's told me those stories as well. She is a success at everything she does except for one thing. She has not been able to get me to be able to spin that basketball on my finger. I just suck at that.
I'm terrible at it too. I could never do that. Why is that? Why do you think we're not good at that?
I don't know. But you know what? You don't need your athletic prowess. You don't need to spin that basketball, but I just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, but it's something you always want to do. Like just sit there. There were kids that could just do it, and I never could. I don't know why. You can do a lot of things. You think you can do a lot of things, but then something you think is simple like that, I don't know. It's crazy. So tell our fans really quick, what do you do as chairman of the board of the Big Three now? Like, what is your responsibility?
We're a startup entity. As I said, we had 3 seasons under our belt. We were just hitting our stride, so to speak, with the wind in our sails, a strong wind, shut down for the pandemic. Right now, it's all hands on deck, trying to see if we can build back from coming out of this pandemic. So we're right in the middle of the season. And look, we're dealing with pandemic issues like other sports are. We see it in the NFL. We see players testing and having to sit. We see it in the NFL. We see it in baseball. So we're dealing with all of the economic struggles of coming out of a pandemic, as well as pandemic-related issues. So it's all hands on deck, whether it's Cube or Jeff or Clyde or our new CEO, Chris Hanan, or any of us on the board. We're all doing anything we can to fight back out of the pandemic. And look, I have thought that Cube since the day NWA burst on the scene, I have recognized what a musical genius he is, and how just so talented. I'll say it again, musical genius. Well, let me tell you something. He is every bit as phenomenal at business as he is at music, and he's an even better human being. So watching him work and Jeff work and Clyde work, we all do everything we can to try to fight back from the pandemic.
Yeah, that you're right with everyone else. I mean, I have a good friend who's a chef. He lost his job during the pandemic. Yep. He's opened up a new place now, a little bagel place, and I've been helping him just because I know the struggle that they're all going through. And I can't wait to see the Big Three come back. And with you leading it, I know it's definitely going to get back on top. So tell me a little bit about the book you wrote before we have to go here.
Well, first of all, you're very kind to say that I'm leading it. That's very generous. Cube and Jeff and Clyde are leading it. I'm just happy to be part of the team. I did write a book.
Well, they trust you. I guarantee they trust you. Kind of like
there
Al
you
did.
Go. Thank you. We all do trust one another, and I do that. That's very nice of you to note, and I do believe that. I did write a book. I've always loved to write. There was a period in my life where I thought maybe I'd be a journalist, or maybe I'd write spy novels. I never did either of those things, but I did enjoy writing a book about my years with the Raiders. It's reflections, it's fun stories, it's my mistakes that I made, and a lot of just various thoughts. And it was a lot of fun to write that. And the moment I have a minute to breathe, I'm going to write a kid's book.
Oh, wow. What is it's going to involve?
I'm not telling.
It's going to be involve rescue dogs. I can feel it. Dogs. And
I'm not telling, but it will involve animals as a whole.
I love it. I'm still waiting for my son to write his book. We had a bulldog who used to steal all the ornaments off our Christmas tree, and he's like, "Dad, we should write a book called."
You should do it together.
So I said, "Well, Mom and I will write it." And he goes, "No, it's my story, Dad. You're not writing it." So I'm still waiting for him to write it. We'll see.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's great. I understand it. So we get to catch you on CBS Sports this fall, and hopefully we get to catch you in the Big Three see you on there. So tell our fans how they can find you, how they can check you out on social media. And
my social media platform is Twitter. When I joined CBS Sports, their PR people said to me, "Would you like to go on Twitter?" And I said, No. I am never doing that. Never. I am not doing that. That is so not me. I'm never doing it. Then I joined Twitter, and I'm now fairly convinced they must have invented Twitter for me. And of course, I'm teasing when I say that, but
you're really good. Like you respond. You're really good at it.
I love my Twitter village. We exchange thoughts in a reasoned and reasonable manner. And when we disagree with one another, we do so agreeably. I will tell you, Gus, that in the years I've been on Twitter, I can count on two hands the number of times someone has been nasty, or what I sound like a 3-year-old. I'm like, you're being mean.
Right.
But someone has been nasty or mean, and I'll respond and I'll say, you know what? Fair enough. You want to disagree with me? Disagree with me. But you don't need to be mean. You don't need to disagree so disagreeably. And all but 2 or 3 times, I've gotten an immediate response saying, you know what, Amy, you're right. We can disagree, and we don't need to be disagreeable about it. So here's to disagreeing agreeably. My Twitter village, that's how we do it. It's at Amy Trask. And I love Twitter. I'm now, and I say this tongue in cheek, but pretty sure they invented it for me.
Right.
And Gus, should the Big 3 ever be in a location, in a venue near you, you are invited to be our guest.
Oh, I would love that. And I see that. What about the Big 3? I know they have some merch. If we could ever help you guys and promote it on the show, we'd love to do that. That would be wonderful.
Well, thank you very much. I will make sure to get you a hat.
Oh, I'd love that. Yeah. My head's getting bigger as I get older. I don't know why that is. I think it's just because I like Ben and Jerry's now. I don't have to worry about what
I'm not commenting on your head
running away from all the Raiders that are chasing me. Yeah, no, that's great. So I appreciate it. So I want to thank you so much for being on Huddle Up with Gus. And if you ever see your buddy Ice Cube and you tell him, hey, I got a guy that would love to have you on his podcast, that would be great, because I would talk all the Fridays with him in a heartbeat.
I will do so. And I thank you for having me on. It's been my pleasure and honor to join you.
No, I really appreciate it, Amy. It was great. I could talk to you forever because there's so many other things I want to talk about. Jeff Hostetler, Howie Long playing pranks on each other. I mean, there's so many things I want to ask.
Oh, we got to do that
maybe
another
that's
time.
For another time. Yeah, definitely.
It is. I apologize that I have to jump now. And by the way, only because I was so honored to join you did I do this entire conversation sitting in a closet. Right. But I was honored to join you. I do have to jump now, and we can maybe do that in the future.
Okay, appreciate it, Amy, and thank you for joining me on Huddle Up with Gus. That's our show, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Huddle Up with Gus. I appreciate you listening. I want to thank Sounder FM for hosting us. I want to thank 1631 Digital News. And don't forget to go Vegas Sports Advantage. Put in my code Huddle Up, save 25%, and win some cash. So thanks again to Amy Trask. Go check out her book and check her out at Amy Trask on Twitter. She's the reason they made Twitter. So thanks for joining me on Huddle Up with Gus.
And that's a wrap, sports fans. Thanks for joining in the fun at the 1631 Digital Studios for another action-packed Huddle Up with Gus, featuring 15-year NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte. Huddle Up with Gus is proudly produced by 1631 Digital Media and is available on Apple Music.